Welcome back to the Just Talk Hoops podcast. Hopefully, you guys had a great. It's been a while, huh? I don't remember exactly when I got the last episode out, but it has been busy. It might have maybe it's been 2 weeks and a little bit more. I know I'm releasing this on a Tuesday. That's not when we normally release. We normally get them out on Sunday. But it's been Christmas break time, so I have free time on a Tuesday, which isn't common, and I've been kind of suffering with a cough, so I didn't want to be wheezing through an episode on Sunday. And I still sort of have it, so hopefully I'm not coughing too much. Bear with me if I am. But if you guys are celebrating Christmas, if you're celebrating Hanukkah, whatever, happy holidays. Hopefully you guys are having a good holiday season. If you're on winter break, hopefully you're having a good time with that. I know I am. It's been really nice to get a little time away from school and all that stuff. But hopefully you guys have been enjoying basketball. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying whatever you're doing. And today we've got a pretty fun, Christmas themed idea for you. And then we'll do our games of the week, of course. Since it's a Tuesday, I'm just doing games of the week. And the days left in the week, obviously, I'm not going to choose games for days that have already passed. That would be cheating. But yeah, so it should be pretty fun. Hopefully you guys enjoy. If you do enjoy and you're on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button. If you appreciate the content, let me know if there's anything you'd like to see. Drop it in the comments. I'll check that out. If you're listening on Spotify, 5-star rating. I think right now we're still batting 100 with the 5-star ratings, so please don't tank that. If there is some reason that you don't think it should be a 5-star rating, hit me up, right? Just Talk Hoops on Instagram. And we can tell me what you'd rather see. If you want to see different content, I'm always open to that. It is busy, difficult to get stuff out, but we can try and get something out for you. Anyway, what we're going to be doing today is, so Adam Silver called me up, right, as he does, and he was like, Mason, you free right now, right? Like we need your help with something. And I was like, yeah, like I got you, right? And he was like, okay, all the teams put together a wish list. So if you could just since he knows that Santa Claus is a pretty big listener to my podcast, right? He was like, if you could just get that out on the pod so that Santa Claus, hears him, make sure that he, delivers all the right gifts to all the right teams, then he'd really appreciate that. So I was like, yeah, you owe me one, Adam, but I can do it, right? So I've got the wish list for the entire NBA, the NBA wish list. Every team is wishing for something this year. They want something different. Some of them, it's all basketball related. A couple of them threw some weird stuff in there. Denver wished for snow, which was interesting. It's been hot here. I was out there yesterday playing football in shorts and a t-shirt, like at 5 o'clock last night, which was very odd. Like it's December in Denver. It shouldn't be. It's weird. But yeah, the Nuggets wish for snow. They also wish for something else. But I'm not disclosing the non-basketball related ones. This is Just Talk Hoops. We are a basketball podcast for the most part. So anyway, we've got the entire wish list. We've got the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. I just went down the standings, and that's how I wrote it down. So first of all, we'll start with the East as we normally do on this podcast. I don't know why I always choose to start with the East, but I do. Maybe one day I'll switch it up, start with the West, but for the moment, it's whatever. Anyway, so the Pistons are currently the first team in the East, which impresses for them. Their wish was just keep it going, not lose momentum, right? We saw the Cavs got off to an incredible start last year and were looking really, really good, and then kind of sputtered out as the year went on. Especially once they got to the playoffs, it was like, and then second round exit. And I know they were playing the Pacers. I got the T.J. McConnell finals jersey on right now. If you look at the back, it's got the finals patch, but it's a little awkward to turn around. And so it was like the Cavs. They play against the Pacers. They sputter out. They lose their momentum, and all of a sudden it's like, oh well, there goes what was an historic regular season, what was an incredible performance from them, and they sputtered out. They kind of lost that identity that they had earlier in the year. The Pistons don't want to do that, right? The Pistons want to go all the way. Do I think they're going to go all the way? Probably not. I still don't totally believe in this team as a contender. I think they could get there. I think that they could be a competitive team for sure. It's just that their wish is they want to not just be a regular season team, which I think is a reasonable wish. They're not asking for too much. Some of these guys got greedy with their wishes, which I don't really appreciate. But the Pistons kept it pretty realistic. They were like, yeah, we just want to keep that identity of we're a tough team, we're a muck it up team, we're nasty boys, as Dennis Jenkins put it. Um, Dennis. It's not Dennis because it's an A. I don't know how to pronounce that name. Dennis Jenkins, something like that. Um, and so like they just want to keep that going. I think that makes perfect sense for the Knicks. For them, they want the first spot in the East. The Knicks have had an incredible regular season so far. In terms of they won the NBA Cup, they look like a really good team. I think that Jalen Brunson has looked maybe even better than last year. The team's working well. They've got a lot of guys stepping up. They look like, in my opinion, the best team in the East come playoff time. I think sort of though, if you're the Knicks, you want the first spot just because it's a bit of a, you know, bit of a bragging rights, right? Because right now the Pistons can kind of hold that above you. I also think this is not ridiculous for the Knicks to want. This is a very reasonable wish list item. I think. You want some. You want some bragging rights. You want to be top of the East when I think you are the best team in the East. That makes sense to me. Now, I personally don't really want them to be the first team in the East. I'm a Nets fan. I don't hate the Knicks because I don't really hate teams because I don't hate basketball. I would rather, though, they weren't, just out of personal preference. After them, we've got the Celtics, who are third in the East despite the fact that they're missing. Like, they lost over the offseason Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford. They also lost Jason Tatum last year because of injury. So they lost 3 starters and one of their main glue guys in Al Horford. And they're the 3rd seed in the East. That's not fair. It's just like there are so many teams out there that have suffered through so much more. And yet the Celtics just props to them. I'm not one to really say like that's not fair in sports. I think that if you build a good enough team, then you'll get what a good enough team deserves. You'll get what your team deserves, pretty much. Like if you build a good enough team, then you'll get what your team deserves. If you build a bad team, then you're not going to be a good team. It's that simple. The Celtics have built a good team. They've brought in a good coach. They've, somehow figured out how to start players who normally wouldn't start and still create a really good identity and play really, really good basketball. Shout out to Jaylen Brown. He's been absolutely incredible. I think he should be an all-star this year, probably all-star starter. I'll do my all-star predictions most likely next week. So stay tuned, right? Because voting is opened up in the NBA app. What I do is, I normally try and vote for who I actually think should be the starters. Now, sometimes I say, well, maybe I'll just put the whole Nets starting lineup in. But, that's just if I'm just on a whim. The Celtics, though, I think Jaylen Brown should 100% be an all-star. I think that, Derek White, he started the year off rough recently, though. He's been playing really well. He's been hitting his shots. The shot originally wasn't falling, which has still been a problem for a couple of their guys, right? Like Sam Hauser the shot was not falling. It has not been falling for him all year. If he could get that back, that would add another layer to their offense. Peyton Pritchard's been playing good basketball. Anthony Simons I've been a little bit underwhelmed with, honestly, but he's still been talented. He's still been good. Jordan Walsh, huge props to Jordan Walsh. He has been such a big part of the Celtics and everything that they've been doing so far this year. He's brought great defensive versatility. I actually really like watching Jordan Walsh. He's one of my favorite players on this Celtics team at the moment. He's brought great defensive versatility. He's shot the ball extremely well. He had a streak of he made like 20-something threes in a row. He's shooting the ball really, really well. And he's been great. Now, the one thing that the Celtics are going to wish for is if Tatum comes back, right, then all of a sudden this Eastern Conference looks like, oh man, who's stopping the Celtics, right? And I understand that this team is not as good as they were when they went to the championship. I still don't totally see this team as a contender just because of the fact that I don't trust their center rotation. Neemias Queta and Luka Garza, shout out to them. They do some things really well. They do play some good basketball, but and I'm a Hawkeyes fan, so I do have a sort of a soft spot for Luka Garza, but I just don't see them as starting quality centers on a contending team. But if Tatum comes back, you look at this team that's already been playing really well, and you say, okay, Derek White's figured out how to shoot the ball. Jaylen Brown has looked like a true number one caliber guy. Jason Tatum, we know what he does. He can be that number one, or he can kind of do all the little things and play beside Jaylen Brown. Another guy who, like Anthony Simons, Peyton Pritchard, these are talented basketball players. Jordan Walsh, who I just talked about, who I've been a big fan of. Hugo Gonzalez has played really well, good basketball this year. So, I mean, they could potentially do something. I could see this team making the conference finals if everything goes right and if Tatum comes back. So, yeah, their wish was for Tatum to come back this year, which there are already rumors about, right? There are already rumors that he may come back, which would be cool. I'm not a huge fan of the Celtics, but I used to sort of hate them, but then I was kind of like, there's no reason for me to hate them. They've put together a really good basketball team. I got to respect that. A guy like, and I like Jason Tatum. I like Jaylen Brown. I wouldn't want to defend him in case the hairline gets on my jersey, but that's a different story. After them, currently fourth in the East, I've got this. I don't know about. I've got the Sixers. The Sixers are fourth in the East. I don't have anything to do with it. There is the Sixers. Their wish this year was to be healthy come playoff time. Now, they've wished for that for about 5 years in a row now, and never once has Santa. They must have done something bad. It's probably when Joel Embiid elbowed Jared Allen in 2019, and since then, the repercussions have just been ringing out. But I do think that this Sixers team, if they were healthy, could actually do a lot, right? I do see them as a contender. You look at the talent on this team, and it is incredible, right? Because you've got Maxey, who's playing the best basketball easily of his career. He's playing like one of the best guards in the league. I think he should be an all-star for sure. You've got a bunch of other great guards. You've got Jared McCain, who's one of the ones who needs to stay healthy. He's suffered with injury his first 2 years of his career. Quentin Grimes, who's played really good basketball. VJ Edgecombe, who's had a great rookie year. And then you've got Paul George, who I know is no longer at the level Paul George used to be, but he's still a talented player. Who else? Then there's, Joel Embiid, right? Who is Joel Embiid? We've got... And I listen, I know that Joel Embiid is no longer the same player that he once was. And I made an episode last year about the Joel Embiid problem where I talked about, can you depend on this guy who is extremely injury prone to be one of the better players on your team? I don't think you can, right? But now that Tyrese Maxey has taken a jump, and now that Tyrese Maxey has actually shown that he can do things at a high level on the offensive end, and he can be one of the better scorers in the league, then it's like, okay, well, maybe Embiid doesn't need to have quite as big of a workload. And when he does play, he's still been putting up good stats and putting in good scoring numbers for the most part. Now, he's no longer as dominant as he was in 2023 and, years prior. Obviously, he was one of the best players in the league. Like, he was in debates for the best player of the league. A lot of people thought he was. And obviously, he's no longer quite to that level. His defensive ability has dropped off a lot since then, since being an all-defensive caliber guy. His offense is no longer quite as good as it used to be. It feels like sometimes he settles for shots and he moves slower out there, which makes sense because of the knee injuries. But still, like, if he could stay healthy, if Paul George could stay healthy, if Jared McCain, all these guys could stay healthy, then this team could really do something, I think, come playoff time. I think that especially since this Eastern Conference we've talked about is weaker, right? So if you look at some, and I talked last week about what I think could get every one of these contending teams to the play or to the finals. I already kind of talked about what the Sixers would need for that to happen, but if they could stay healthy, then that would really work out for them. Now, do I think they're going to get their wish list item of staying healthy for playoffs? I mean, history says no, right? Their trends say no, but there's a first time for everything, so maybe they can figure it out. I think that, maybe Santa's really having a good year this year. Maybe he's feeling nice, he'll give them some health. But that's it's a lot to depend on for a historically injury prone team and player in Joel Embiid to be players, right? Joel Embiid and Paul George, and you're depending on them to be great. And I don't know. The bar seems high, and they're gonna have to really live up to it. After them, we've got the Raptors. Now the Raptors have had a rough go recently. Let's see what they've been doing recently, shall we? I can't remember exactly what the record is in their last 10, but um, it's like they're 3-7 or something like that. Or let's see, they're 3-8 in their last 11. So, and that includes losses. That includes losses. They lost to the Celtics. That makes sense. They lost to the Celtics twice, actually. They lost to the Knicks twice. Okay, makes sense. They lost to the Lakers. Okay, like these are good teams, right? Maybe they just had a tough schedule. But then you look at they lost to the Hornets by twice. One time by 25. They lost to the Nets by 15. I'm a Nets fan. Don't lose to the Nets by 15. You're not supposed to do that. They're terrible. And they beat Miami and Milwaukee. Milwaukee has not looked great recently, especially since Giannis has missed time. They beat Portland by 3, but that was a minute ago. That was like 8 games ago. And they have really fallen off recently. And it's not like, oh, they've just been super injury prone. It's not like, oh, they're, and I know that RJ Barrett has missed some time, so that is part of it. But if you can't win without RJ Barrett, that's a little bit concerning. Now, Brandon Ingram, he's been hooping. He has done a little bit less recently, it feels like, but he's still been playing good basketball. Scotty Barnes has been playing good basketball, but then again, Scotty Barnes was held to 6 points by the Brooklyn Nets. Now, I know the Nets have played really good team defense basketball recently, which I've been really happy with. Jordi Fernandez has got that whole team bought in, but Scotty Barnes should not be being held to 6 by a team that, when you just look at their defensive talent, is not great, right? It's not like you're playing against the Thunder, you're playing against the Brooklyn Nets. And so if their wish is just remember how to play basketball and get back to the level, because they were the second seed in the East for a little bit of time there. They were in the top 3 with the Pistons and Knicks. They were looking really good, and now they've fallen to 5 with, and if these trends continue, they're going to fall right back down to the play-in and maybe out of it, although I'd still expect them to be a play-in team, at least. But it is a tricky situation if you're the Raptors, because it's like, oh, we got off to such a great start, and now it's kind of all going downhill. And I still think that they've got a couple all-star caliber players on their team. Once again, I'll do my all-star predictions next week. But it's just a difficult situation to be in when it's like, oh, we started off, I can't remember exactly what they started off as, but if they've dropped 8 games of their last 11, so they were 14-5. Now they're 17-13. Not great. Hopefully my math was right there. I think it was. Right below them, there's the Magic. The Magic just want. Oh my goodness! See, this is what I mean about the cough. The Magic just want Franz back. They would love to be able to shoot the basketball, but I think that is just not ever going to happen with this team. They just can't hit a 3, and I know that Desmond Bane has helped a little bit, but this team is still one of the worst three-point shooting teams in basketball. Franz Wagner, though, him coming back would be great, because he's going to miss, I can't remember, a couple weeks, I think, and that definitely hurts them because of the fact that, he is maybe their best player, right? There's a debate between him and Paolo. I would sort of lean Franz at this point in their careers. But without Franz, I think they're going to struggle to really get wins as a team. That's just the reality of the situation. When you lose one of your top 2 players, you normally become a little bit worse as a franchise. But oh my goodness, I'm all stuffed up too. This cold is just not going away. I've had it for a week and a half now. It's really ridiculous. Anyway, we'll try and fight through it, get through the rest of the episode. The Cavs are after the Magic. They're currently in the play-in at the 7th spot. The Cavs have been awful. They have been, and 16 and 14 for a lot of teams would be like, wow, what an overachieving season, or what a standard season. For the Cavs, it's like you go from one of the best teams in the regular season last year to being extremely disappointing. Every time I watch the Cavs, it's just disappointing. Whether it's, oh man, look, Donovan Mitchell scored 36 and they lost, or oh man, look, there's another 18 and 8 from Evan Mobley, but they lost, or oh look, Jared Allen and Darius Garland came back and it hasn't actually helped them win. Or, oh, look, Thomas Bryant just did the too small celebration and then tripped. I mean, that's got to be an omen, right? That's got to just be a sign. Now, I know that Evan Mobley has missed some time now, but even before he went out, it was like this team cannot seem to win basketball games. Now, Donovan Mitchell, it's no hate on Donovan Mitchell. He's been averaging 30. He's been incredible all season. The rest of the team just hasn't really stepped up. I think that it might be time for this team to look at the options for trading teams. And now this is kind of what I expected from the Cavs last year. So I expected the Cavs last year to kind of be in a weird spot where they might have to move some of these players. Darius Garland and Jared Allen were guys that I looked at as like, oh, you might have to move them. But then this year I was like, oh, well, they played so well last year, they should at least keep up some of this energy, and they just haven't. So now I think you look at, okay, well, who wants Jared Allen, right? Who's in need of a starting center? And I'm a huge fan of Jared Allen. Once again, I am a Nets fan, so I love Jared Allen. We kind of I hated getting rid of him. I know it got us James Harden, but we don't have to talk about what happened with Harden. But I think that now it's time to look at Darius Garland, Jared Allen, and say, okay, what do we do with these guys, right? Do we move them to a team? Like, who bites on them? Because right now their stock is low, right? But is it buy low, sell high? Is it like, okay, well, if Darius Garland goes to a new situation, is he going to get back to that all-star level, or is he just going to look like a decent starting point guard? And I mean, he's a little better than decent, but it hasn't been great this year. He's averaging on the year 17 in the games that he has played, which is good, but it's not like, oh, number two. It just feels like there's not a sure number two on this team at the moment. It's like Donovan Mitchell's your guy, but then your defense hasn't been incredible, and your number two is Evan Mobley, who hasn't really taken a jump, offensively at least. And it's a difficult situation to be in if you're the Cavs. So what they want for Christmas is to figure it out, and maybe a good return for Jared Allen and Darius Garland if they were to trade them. I think at least look around, right? At least look at what the market is, because at the moment it's like, okay, they're kind of just sitting there, and once again, I'm a huge fan of those guys, but I think it's difficult to really say, oh, well, they're the truth, right? We totally believe in them. Right behind the Cavs in the play-in, believe it or not, is the Heat, who have been in the play-in, it feels like, ever since it was created. I think that the Heat just want some Eric Spoelstra magic, just something to get them. Like, they started off hot, which, right? But then since then, it's been iffy. And I know recently they've struggled. They went on a 5-game losing streak against not incredible teams, and I know that they have had to play some bad teams or some good teams, but it's still like this team needs to kind of figure it out. And I know that Tyler Hero has missed a lot of time this year, which does hurt because he's one of your top scorers, but still, it feels like they've kind of leveled off into that same plane of mediocrity. That looks like my recording thing just totally crapped the bed. Anyway, I was saying they've leveled off in that same plane of mediocrity that they're always in. The Heat kind of need a spot to... I just think that this is probably where they're going to be. I think this is probably their ceiling. So unless Spoelstra can do something insane, or if they can get super healthy and play extremely well all of a sudden, nothing is really going to change for them. Right behind them is a team I expected to finally escape the play-in, which is their Christmas wish this year, which is the Hawks, not the Heat. the Hawks. I expected them to finally escape the play-in. I really like the offseason moves they did. Nickeil Alexander-Walker's played really good basketball. I know Trae Young's missed a lot of time. He came back, and they put up 150 points and lost by 2, which is insane. I don't know how they did that, but they, I mean, Jalen Johnson's been playing really good basketball. Like I said, Nickeil Alexander-Walker has really impressed so far in his Hawks debut year. Trae Young now coming back should hopefully help them. Kristaps Porzingis just can't stay healthy. It feels like he never can. And I mean that sucks for him. Hopefully he can figure that out. But it is going to be tricky for them if they to get out of the play-in if they can't get healthy, if they can't figure it out. I think that is their Christmas wish, though, is to finally escape the play-in and to actually figure out how to be a team that's ceiling is a little bit higher than 500. Because at the moment, guess what? They're 500 again. It seems like they're stuck being this, and it feels like they're just not going to escape it. But I expected them to. I expected them to be a lot better. They've really been disappointing this year. And guess who else is in the play-in? The other staple of the play-in is the Bulls. Their wish, I think, is to finally trade Vucevic. I know they got up to a great start, and so originally it was like, oh man, maybe this team has something. They didn't. They've completely fallen off since then. I think that shouldn't really be a surprise to people. I expected that, there's every year there's some team that gets out to a hot start and then just crashes and burns. And this year that's been the Chicago Bulls. I think if they can finally trade Vucevic, I know they've been trying to for years. They just can't seem to get a package that they like. I think now it's just get him out of the door, right? Maybe you don't get a superstar from it or like a future superstar from it. I think you have to accept that. And I think it's finally time for them to kind of move on. I think this team has been a little bit too happy sitting in mediocrity. And they've made some moves, right? Josh Giddey has played well for them since they acquired him. I think that Modest Buzelis has been really promising. Guys like Trey Jones have played really good basketball. But the fact that, Noah Senge hasn't gotten any minutes yet as a rookie, and you're probably not going to get a young star for Vooch, it just puts you in kind of a weird spot. I don't know what to expect from this team. I think that they'll probably find a way. I don't know. I keep thinking, oh, well, this is the year Vooch gets traded. This is the year Vooch gets traded, and then it never happens. So hopefully they can maybe get it to work, but so far it has been not likely. The Bucks are the team right outside of the play-in at the moment. Now I think they just want Giannis to be happy, right? That's their wish, is just Giannis to be happy in Milwaukee. I know there's trade rumors about him. It feels like there are every year. If he was to get traded, that would really shake things up. The thing is, I don't know if he's ever going to get traded. So there's this constant thing of he's going to get traded. This is the year, he's gonna go to the Heat or he's gonna go to whatever. And I contemplated for a lot of teams like the Heat saying their Christmas wish list item was Giannis Antetokounmpo, but then it's like, is he actually going to get moved? I don't know. It feels like every single year this happens, it feels like he's always upset about something, at least according to Shams and the reporters of the NBA, and then he never actually moves. But I do feel like this year there is some substance to it, especially with Giannis, deleting all his Bucks stuff on social media. It does feel like maybe this year Giannis actually is upset. So if the Bucks just want Giannis to be happy because he's your generational superstar. Giannis is literally one of the best players the world has ever seen. You got to keep him happy. And they brought in his brothers just in the pursuit of keeping him happy, and then nothing happened. Right after him, it's the Hornets. Now, the Hornets, these tanking teams, it's kind of weird because they don't really want to be good. They just want a high pick, but I don't want to say high pick for every single one of them, so I tried to make it a little more creative. For the Hornets, they just want a Con Knuckle Rookie of the Year. Currently, he'd be my pick for Rookie of the Year. He's been hooping. He's looked like the best player on the Hornets. Now, LaMelo Ball has struggled with injury throughout his career. He hasn't looked incredible in the time he has played. I don't think he's really a winning basketball player. And Con Knuckle has looked really, really good in his rookie year. So they won a Con Rookie of the Year. The Nets, they want at least three of the rookies to pan out. Right now, I talked about Jordi Fernandez playing doing some really good coaching, keeping this team as a good defensive team, despite the fact that the talent isn't quite there. I think that Jordi Fernandez is one of the best coaches in the league, and maybe that's some bias, but I do genuinely think that. But now it's like, okay, well, you are going to need talent, right? I know this guy is a great coach. I know you've got some guys. Michael Porter Jr. has played really well. Nick Claxton has played really well this year. Now it's time, though, to look at the rookies and be like, hopefully they turn into something, right? So I think that, honestly, Yegor Dioman, Drake Powell, they've shown flashes. They've shown some really good things. Danny Wolf has shown some really good things. Now they all have work to do, but they have shown a lot of promise to me. Ben Saraf, he just had a great game in the G League the other day, so that's something that to look after. Nolan Traore has had some good moments in the G. I don't totally believe in him just because he's a smaller guard. I didn't mind the pick when they took it, but just because he's so small, I don't know how high I see his ceiling being. I kind of feel the same way about Saraf. I just don't know how high his ceiling is, but for guys like Yegor, Drake, and Danny, I have really high hopes for them. Hopefully at least three of those guys can pan out. The Pacers, they just want Hallie to come back next year, right? I don't even know if they want him to come back this year. They want I believe they have their pick this year. They want their draft pick this year to be good, right? Obviously, if they do have their pick this year. Then if Halliburton comes back next year, so you get a really good young player, you get Halliburton come back, and then if you could bring in some sort of starting center or someone, maybe this is the team that talks to the Cavs about Jared Allen, right? And you say, okay, well, we could potentially put together some sort of trade offer that would benefit both these teams, and then next year you could look at this team and be like, hey, we've maybe got something, right? I think that would be really interesting to look at. But I think this year you're kind of just waiting it out in between 2 years of hopefully some good basketball. On the Wizards, I have one word down for the Wizards, just one. And this is the official NBA wish list, so this is what they told me. They just want to be competent. That's it. They just want competency. That's it. They just want to, for once, be better than the worst. And I don't mean to drag on the Wizards. That happens enough. But you look at, it's just like they've had a rough go, and they just can't seem to get it together. And I like some of their younger players, right? I think Alex Sarr is talented. Keyshawn George is talented. These are good basketball players. But then, like a guy like Bilal Coulibaly, who I expected to take a jump this year, I think a lot of people did. Now it's like, well, never mind, right? Like they're not really taking a jump. They're not really doing much of anything, and it's like that's unfortunate. Or like at least Coulibaly hasn't taken a jump. Sorry, I mean Alex Sarr has looked better this year than he did in his rookie year, which is a good sign. But Coulibaly hasn't. I mean, obviously he's suffered with injury, but even when he has played, it hasn't been as impressive as I think I was hoping it to be. I think a lot of Wizards fans are hoping it to be. I just think they want some form of, okay, these are our guys. Here's what we're going to be running with. We've got it figured out. And they haven't had that really at all. Now we go over to the Western Conference. I tried to kind of get through those last teams in the East because I do recognize that this episode has already gone on for a while. I will get hopefully I don't know. I mean, hopefully I'll get through this in about an hour-ish time. Total, not an extra hour. That would be ridiculous. But I guess we'll see. The Thunder, they want to be fully healthy. That's it. The Thunder have been incredible this year. Now, I know they've dropped a couple games recently, which for any other team, it's like, yeah, it happens. For the Thunder, it's like, what the hell? They dropped one to the Wolves, which is unfortunate because I said that was my game of the day, so thanks a lot, OKC. And then, of course, dropping the NBA Cup semifinals game to the Spurs. But also, you got to look at this team and you got to be like, they might not be at their full form, right? We know Jalen Williams has missed a good bit of time. Chet Holmgren has actually done a really good job staying healthy this year, knock on wood. But they've had other guys miss random assorted amounts of time, like here and there. If they're fully healthy, they're terrifying. I think that this is the best team in the league. There's not much for them to wish for at that point. It's just greed. I could say another championship, but I think that you can't just wish for another championship. You actually got to wish. You actually got to get there. The Spurs are second in the West right now, which shout out to them. I wasn't expecting them to be this great so soon. They've been incredible. Sorry about my dog. He's an idiot. Um, and I think the Spurs, their wish is just going to be that Wemby plays the rest of the year, right? So Wembanyama, if he's obviously struggled a little bit with injuries throughout his career so far, hopefully he can. Oh my God, he won't shut up. This is so annoying. But hopefully Wembanyama will play the rest of the year. Right? I know he struggled with injuries a couple times now, but he needs to stay a little bit more healthy. And he's obviously, when he's healthy, he's so ridiculously good. He's so ridiculously talented. And then that's it. And I mean, other than that, I think that you still have a really long championship window with this Spurs team. You've still got a really long time to be a contender. You don't necessarily need to be this year. I think, though, you want to see Wemby play the rest of the year so that you know, like, okay, he's our guy. I mean, it's pretty clear that he's their guy, but you just need to see, like, okay, he can stay healthy. He's not going to be a Joel Embiid type of guy where it's like, man, when he plays, he's special. He just never plays. And then, the rest of the team around him just needs to perform well enough that they really they can do something this year, even if that's not winning the championship, at least showing that, hey, we're going to be around, we're going to be present. For the Nuggets, they just want Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown back. They've been playing without two of their starters for a while now. I know they dropped a couple games recently, but before that, they were on a win streak. Last night, they played the Jazz. They looked absolutely incredible. They had like 3 different guys with 20-plus and like 7 different guys with double figures. They just looked really, really good. Tim Hardaway Jr., Cam Johnson, and Jamal Murray, I believe, all hit 6+ threes. They were shooting the lights out last night. Now, obviously, that's not super reliable, but still, you look at this team, and they've been really, really good, missing 2 of their starters, right? I'd say that they're missing their third best player in Aaron Gordon and one of their main glue guys in Christian Brown, and you look at this team, and you're like, man, they're still around. They're still present. They're still so valuable to this franchise. What am I talking about? Those guys are like Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown are so valuable to this franchise, and still without those valuable pieces, they are doing so well. And that's what I think, like, they're still a third in the Western Conference, a very competitive Western Conference. They're beating good teams, they're playing good basketball, and that's without the 2 of their most valuable guys. I think that's absolutely insane. It's a testament to how good Jamal Murray's been playing. It's a testament to how good, obviously, Nikola Jokic is. It's a testament to how good the front office was at making, getting the talent around that duo finally, right? We saw Calvin Booth get fired last year, and then this year they come in, they say, hey, we're going to bring a ton of stuff in. You bring back Bruce Brown, who is a huge part of that championship team. You bring in Jonas Valanciunas, who's the best backup center Jokic has ever had. You bring in Tim Hardaway Jr., who's been great. You trade for Cam Johnson, who, he's had his ups and downs, but overall, I think that he's been a decent player. I think he's helped their defense a little bit, and we know he can still shoot the ball. He can still provide something on the offensive end. I think that the Nuggets look the best they've looked since their championship team, maybe better, and that's without those 2 guys. They get those 2 guys back, it's going to be scary. The fourth team in the West is currently the Lakers. I just said for them they want some form of defense. Obviously, their offense is insane, right? They've got Luka Doncic, who's one of the best offensive engines ever. They've got Austin Reeves, who's been playing really good basketball this year. LeBron James, who has been playing well. I know that he's had some games that it's like, man, LeBron looks a little older. He does look a little older. He does look a little slower. But he is still LeBron James. He still does provide a lot of value, especially on the offensive end. Now the thing becomes, who's going to play defense, right? You got like DeAndre Ayton, who's your center, is known for not being super bought in on the defensive end. Guys like Rui Hachimura, he's a decent defensive player. He's not good enough to hold down entire team defense. So that's sort of what I worry about with the Lakers is that defense going to shape up at all, or is it going to be another issue like we saw in the playoffs last year where it was like, man, they can score, but then they let Rudy Gobert have 20 and 20 in in an elimination game. I don't know about that. Fifth, right behind them, speaking of Rudy Gobert and the Timberwolves, we've got the Timberwolves. They're wishing for a point guard. Now, the Timberwolves are in such an interesting spot because they are currently the 5th team in the West. They've been consistently playing good basketball throughout the past couple years. You look at, right, Mike Conley, let's start with the rest of the team, right? You look at, okay, Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, Jaden McDaniels, Rudy Gobert. That's a good 2 through 5. That's a really good 2 through 5. You've got Anthony Edwards, who's shown to be an All NBA caliber player, Julius Randle, who's an All Star caliber player, and then Jaden McDaniels and Rudy Gobert, who are two of the better defenders in the league. And it's like, wow, they've provided a lot of value to this team. They've looked really, really solid. But then you look at their point guard rotation, and they're not doing a whole ton, right? You look at their point guard rotation, and it's Mike Conley, it's Rob Dillingham, it's Bones Highland. Now, Mike Conley is older. He no longer provides that same value that he used to. Rob Dillingham just hasn't gotten, like, when he plays, it's not super impressive. He hasn't looked like, a guy who's going to jump up and play really good basketball. And Bones Highlands, who I'm a big fan of Bones, and he's played well recently. He's actually done a lot of things better. He's looked like an actual valuable player for them. Despite, like, in the past, and we know that his play style has been seen as a little bit like not a winning play style, but this year he's actually looked pretty good, but still not enough for me to say, oh yeah, this team is, that this team is set at point guard. And then Dante DiVincenzo, I see as more of a 2 guard, and he's run the 1 a little bit, but still it just doesn't move me. So they just want a point guard to randomly fall out of the sky, apparently, because that's what they wish for. And I think if that's Bones Highland or Rob Dillingham stepping up, saying, okay, I'm that guy, so be it. If it's Mike Conley randomly turning back the clock, so be it. But those things don't seem likely. I think that what you're going to need is a trade. I know there's been a lot of rumors about Dante DiVincenzo to the Knicks. I think that is a potential, like, that's something that you could potentially look at and be like, okay, maybe we look for a point guard, right? I know you're not going to get Jalen Brunson, but you look at, like, Deuce McBride, you say, let's try and bring him in, right? Let's see if maybe our point guard rotation is Deuce McBride and Bones Highland, right? And obviously you'd want more than Deuce McBride in return for Dante DiVincenzo, but I still think that it would be very, very valuable for them to look in the market and see where point guards are at. And maybe that's Darius Garland, right? We've talked about him as being someone who a team is willing to trade. I think that's someone you look at. I think that John Morant's someone you look at, who we'll get to in a bit. But it's just an interesting spot. Now, the funny thing is, the Rockets are the next team who have fallen all the way off from 3, or maybe they were 2, and they're now 6, which, I mean, it's such a close race that, like, you lose a couple games, you win a couple games, you can move up or down a ton of spots. The Rockets, funnily enough, have the same wish. I still just don't totally trust this team to I don't I don't totally trust this team without a playmaker, right? So you've got Amen Thompson, who isn't totally comfortable as a point guard. It doesn't seem like Reed Shepherd, who they've been bringing off the bench, and he's played good basketball, but I don't totally trust him when the game gets close. And we've seen now a couple games where it's been close and they have not won the game, right? And I think that part of that could possibly be you don't trust the guy to get it to your stars in their spots, so you just have your star get it there himself, if that makes sense, right? Like, you look at Alperen Şengün against the Nuggets, and he shoots, like, at the end of the game, he shoots a bad shot to try and win the game. And it's almost like, well, you've got time left on the clock. If you have a point guard that you trust, you can play Alperen Şengün somewhere else and have that point guard create the shot for them. But when, I don't think teams respect the handle of Amen Thompson or the abilities of Reed Shepherd quite enough for them to be that playmaker, if that makes sense. And then Kevin Durant, he missed a couple attempted game winners in their game against the Kings. And it's just, it's an interesting spot to be in where it's like you've got some form of point guards, but I don't know how reliable it is. I still really believe in this Rockets team. I still think that they are a really good basketball team, and I think that they should be one of the teams that you look out for in the playoffs, especially as one of the teams who could potentially make a run. But I don't I do think that a point guard is something that they should sort of look into, or at least some form of playmaker who can put the ball on the floor comfortably in the clutch time moments and be a consistent threat there. After them, we get into the play, and we've got the Suns, and the Suns have overachieved this season. I've been impressed with them. Their wish, in my opinion, is just to not fizzle out. They just don't want to lose all their ground, and all of a sudden, it's like, oh well, we were on such a great hot streak, and now we lose it entirely. Um, Now, do I think they're going to contend in the West? I do not, but I do think that there is sort of a world where they that happens, right? Like I think that there is a chance where they kind of lose their momentum, or there's a world where they do sort of contend in some form or capacity. I just don't see that happening. Um, I think that most likely they are going to lose some of their juice, lose some of their heat at the moment. Um, but maybe you get a Dylan Brooks All Star appearance. That's not happening. But he's been playing well. He's been playing really, really well. The Warriors are right after them. I said for them it's just a young star. It does look like the Warriors dynasty is kind of coming to a close, in my opinion. Right? Steph is older. He's still been playing really great basketball. He's still an All Star. Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green starting to slow down a little bit. That franchise is starting to lose some of the momentum from where it was. Now that's not a problem because every team loses that momentum, right? You can't have a dynasty forever. But the thing with them is, who do you rely on after these guys really slow down, right? Like Brandon Podziemski, he hasn't really panned out. Jonathan Kuminga hasn't really panned out. A guy like Will Richards has had a decent rookie year this year, but I still don't expect him to be like, oh, that's your guy for the future. And it just, it's difficult to get a guy for the future while you're still looking to contend. I understand that. But if they could somehow, if that's trading Jonathan Kuminga, if that's trading someone else, they could somehow come into possession of that so that they kind of lessen the blow of, oh, we're no longer at the spot we used to be, then that would be, that would be fine. That would be great. Um, After them, we've got the Grizzlies. They just need to figure out the Josh situation, whether that's trading him, whether that's sitting him on the bench, whether that's playing him and hoping he returns to the level of play he's once at, whether that's load managing him so he doesn't deal with as many. Whatever it is, they need to figure out the best way to deal with that. I think you have to at least look for trade offers. Right? I think you talk to those teams that need point guards and you say, hey, we've got a point guard, right? You want to give us some good players, and I mean, I think that I don't know how big of a deal, how big of a. I'm trying to think of a way to say that without it sounding really weird. I don't know how good of a return you're going to get. There we go. Um, but like I don't know at this point how much value John Morant has in his career, but I do think that it is worth at least looking around, at least looking for trades. And if you can't find anything with that, it's worth trying to figure out what is wrong with him, what is wrong with his game at the moment because he just hasn't been great. After that, we've got the Blazers. I think they just want to keep being under the radar because they've played good basketball in a lot of games. I've been really impressed with them. Now they've had their ups and downs, obviously, like every team does. I still don't think they're a contender, but if they can stay under the radar for another couple of years, then they could look really decent in a couple of years. Especially like next year, Damian Lillard will be back for them, and you've still got a lot of this young talent. Denny Avdia has been playing like an all-star. Drew Holiday. Maybe because of Denny Avdia, maybe this is their Hanukkah wish list, right? Maybe this is not Christmas. Maybe they don't celebrate Christmas. I don't know. But this is, like I do think they want to keep flying under the radar for whatever holiday they choose. Um, right under them, we've got the Mavs. They just want Kyrie to come back and help this franchise a little bit. Cooper Flag has really come into his own. He's looked good. He's looked like what a first overall pick should look like. I think that isn't an up, that is a positive, but unfortunately, it's in a short list of positives. The rest of this team has not looked great. Klay Thompson has had a really rough year. Anthony Davis has struggled with injury. When he does play, he hasn't looked like the same dominant AD we've seen in the past, which he is getting older. He is a guy who's suffered through injuries in the past. And if you could just get Kyrie to come back, then they could really do something with this team that maybe just find a way to fight into the play and find a way to fight up to to some form of, I don't think they're a contender at this point. I expected a little more out of this team. But I do think that they're not, like, without Kyrie, it's very rough. If Kyrie could come back and make it just sort of rough, that would be helpful for them. The Jazz, I think they just want some more young guys to turn up. I've liked what I've seen from the Jazz this year. Lauri Markkanen has played great basketball. Keontae George has played great basketball. Walker Kessler was playing great basketball, and then he went out with an unfortunate injury. But I do think they need some more of those young guys to really come into their own, figure their stuff out. Ace Bailey, after starting the year off rough, has sort of come into that role. I thought Bryce Sensabaugh was going to do a little more this year, honestly. I thought Isaiah Collier was going to do a little bit more this year. Now, I know that Collier is playing underneath Keontae George, so that is a tricky situation to be in, but I want to see those guys really look like future pieces that this team can hold on to, and then if they can, then this team is pretty well set up for the future, honestly. It's pretty well set up to be like, okay, well, we can maybe get to a point where they are a playoff team, because they have played some pretty good basketball this year, and I've been impressed. Now they just need some more. The Pelicans, they need Derek Queen to be the star of the future. It's not just a wish. It's like they need it because they gave up their pick next year for him, which is so stupid. But Derek Queen's been hooping. He's been really, really good. I think for me, unless I'm forgetting anybody, it would be between Queen and Knipple for the Rookie of the Year this year. Queen's been great. He's played really good basketball. He's put up some really, really good numbers. And it's been like, Cooper Flagg would also be in that debate for Rookie of the Year. You've got some other guys. But I think that Queen should definitely be a part of this team's long-term plans. Now the question just becomes, what is the rest of your long-term plans? But you do need him to be like a star caliber player. And because otherwise that trade's going to look really, really bad. It already does. But if it's like, well, Derek Queen is that guy, then you're like, okay, well, fine. But otherwise, this management, it's going to look even worse than they already have. Under them at 14 in the West, I'm shocked by this. It's the Clippers. And I expected them to be so much better. I expect them to be really good. This is one of the craziest single-season fall-offs I've ever seen. And the Clippers, they just haven't kept that level up from last year, and it's really disappointing. And I think their wish is just for anything to go right. And I would have felt bad for the Clippers. The Chris Paul situation, though, just made me kind of disgusted by him. After the whole Kawhi situation and everything with the trees, I don't know. I'm not moved by that team. And then they just want something to happen for it. And they're so old that it's like, what do they even depend on for the future? I don't know. They've gotten themselves into a sticky situation. And then the Kings are the last team in the West. It's just like, it's a tough situation over there. I think they just want young talent. They're also an old team. I don't totally know what they depend on for the future. Now, they've got some guys, right? They've got Nick Clifford. They've got Keegan Murray. They've got Keon Ellis. So they do have some guys. Now the question just becomes, is that enough? Obviously, a lot of their team is old. You've got Russell Westbrook, Dennis Schroeder, DeMar DeRozan, Domantas Sabonis, Zach LaVine. Like, it's an old team. Now it's like, okay, who takes over the reins after these guys? And like taking over the reins makes it seem like, oh, who's going to carry the torch? There's not a torch to carry. It's maybe a matchstick, which is a little overly harsh, but it's the Kings. I mean, can you be overly harsh towards the Kings? I don't know. I wish the Kings could figure it out. I really, I have no hatred towards the Kings. But that's every team's wish list. That's every single team in the NBA. I think I didn't miss any, hopefully. That's their wish list for the year. And we'll see what Santa Claus decides to do. Anyway, we're going to move on to our games of the week. I'll try and get it moving here because I have been talking for a while, so I'll finish this up, hopefully keep it not too long. Last week we went 4-3, which not our best work. We've been doing better than that this year for the most part. We won our first three. We got Lakers Suns. We said the Lakers. That was correct. Then Rockets Nuggets. I actually did say that the Rockets and Nuggets were going to split the two games that they played last week, and I predicted exactly correct. I was very happy about that. That was correct. Tuesday was the NBA Cup Finals, Spurs-Knicks. I said the Knicks just felt like an NBA Cup championship team, and I was right. And after that, I said Cavs-Bulls. I expected the Cavs to have a little bit of a bounce back since the Bulls haven't been great this year. And, of course, the Cavs blew it. They've been disappointing this year. Thursday, Magic Nuggets. I said the Nuggets were going to win that one. I've been really happy with how the Nuggets have performed, and they did win that one. Friday was Thunder Wolves. I was like, okay, Thunder get back on track. And then Anthony Edwards and the Wolves had a really, really great game. And it was like, wow, well done. Well done. Props to them. The Thunder are not as untouchable as they looked. They're still pretty untouchable, but not quite as much. Saturday, I said Lakers-Clippers. I said the Lakers were going to win. And then the Clippers won. Like, the Clippers are really just out to get me this year. They're pissing me off, honestly. That's their goal for the year. That should have been their Christmas wish list. Like, let's just piss Mason off more. This week, so obviously Tuesday, we're starting on Tuesday. That's when this episode's being released. Tomorrow there's no game since it is Christmas Eve. But Tuesday, Thunder Spurs. I'm taking the Thunder there. I'm not quite ready to bet against the Thunder. And besides the Spurs, I don't expect them to take 2 games in a row against the Thunder. I think the Thunder are going to kind of bounce back, have a little bit of fire. Give me the Thunder tonight. Obviously Wednesday, no games. Thursday, I'm going to Wolves Nuggets, which I'm so excited for. Me and my dad do like a quarter season package every year, and this year the Christmas game just happened to be in it, which was awesome. So we're going to go to that. Super excited for that. I'm going to say the Nuggets. I think that the Wolves honestly could win this game. I do sort of feel like the Nuggets have gotten a couple against the Wolves in a row. I don't totally expect that to continue, but I'm going to be there, so they'll probably win. If they need me, I can play. I'll knock down a couple shots. No, I wouldn't. Friday, Heat going to Atlanta to play the Hawks. Give me the Hawks there. I think that these teams are at a very similar level. I just believe in the Hawks, especially since Trae Young's coming back. I expect them to kind of get it going. Now, I am a big believer in this Hawks team, like I was talking about earlier. Maybe that's just bias, but I do expect them to kind of get things going. Hopefully they can figure that out. And then Saturday, Cavs going to Houston to play the Rockets. I'm done betting for the Cavs until they show me that they're deserving of it, because they have been disappointing this year. Give me the Rockets. I know the Rockets had a couple tough games recently, like losing in the last seconds. I expect them to win this one pretty well. And that is all. So I tried to get through those pretty quick so that you guys don't have to listen for too long. Drop your predictions for those in the comments if you're on YouTube. And hopefully you're right. Or not. Maybe I'm better than you. Once again, unreasonably harsh. I've been talking for a long time. It's like an hour straight, besides the slight technological difficulties. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys have a great holiday season, whatever holiday you are celebrating. If that is Christmas, if that is Hanukkah, if that is something else entirely. If you're not celebrating a holiday at all, just enjoy some time off. Enjoy some, cheer. Just, whatever it is. Hopefully you guys have a great week. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you are on YouTube, once again, like and subscribe. If you are on Spotify, 5 stars, please. I'll take 4, but I'd prefer 5. And if you're, if you'd like to talk to me somehow, Just Talk Hoops on Instagram. I'm always down to debate stuff, always down to talk about stuff. If you have any ideas for content, once again, let me know. And hopefully you guys have a great week, great holiday season, and I will see you next week on Just Talk Hoops.